When we're talking about the health and wellness of any individual, we're really talking about more than just their physical health. We're talking about we are talking about their physical health, but we're also talking about their emotional health. And we'll dive in a little bit more. We're talking about financial health and wellness. How are they saving their money, things like that. Social. We're talking about their communication level. Well, like I said, we'll go into detail with each one of these. Spiritual, occupational, and when we talk about kids and in your family, are we talking about your occupation, what you're doing for work, or what the kids are doing to gain the skills to enter the workforce at whatever age they might be? Physical, we mentioned. Intellectual wellness. And when we talk about intellectual wellness, we're talking about not just school, but the desire to learn. We'll talk about that more. Environmental health. In short terms, we're talking more about the space that we're in, what's surrounding us. This was actually brought. I'll keep talking. This was actually brought out to us by the model that the SAMHSA, which stands for Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Association. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but they created that, and it's okay if, say, I have. Can you go back for a second? It's okay if I have. It's okay for me not to be well-rounded completely, and that's the whole idea. Is that maybe I'm weak spiritually, but I'm very strong emotionally. And that can help to counteract and balance that a little bit. Same thing goes with physical. Maybe I'm not the best physically, but maybe I'm such a people person. And, so that's kind of where we're going with today.
Yeah, you can't discount strengths in any one area because they all support one another.
Yes, exactly. So now we can really go.
Okay, I'll step over. All right, so we are going to tackle physical wellness first. It is part of the wheel, so just because we're talking about physical wellness doesn't mean we're talking about weight still. So there's a lot to physical wellness beyond what we weigh. We can talk about healthy eating in very simple ways. We can talk about being physically active in simple ways, and also things like sleep, just how we care for our bodies, hygiene. A lot of things come into play under physical wellness. And it's all about making small changes that help you feel better about how you feel physically, your health overall, but it's not focused on that scale. So a couple of the things we'd like to think about are the research out there that shows that even without weight loss, simple healthy eating and regular physical activity can help prevent cardiovascular disease, can help prevent hypertension, type 2 diabetes, some types of cancer. All of these benefits come just by making small changes to our diet and exercise, even if that weight doesn't come off. So when we're talking about physical wellness, we try not to focus on that issue that everyone tends to put at the forefront, but just focus on what small changes we can make to be well overall. And some other issues that we often tackle with a lot of the youth and family that we're working with is sleep. That's a big concern for a lot of people. Yeah, and healthy sleep is really important. Boost your immune system, help boost your metabolism, helps memory and learning. So those are all really important benefits that we get from making small manageable changes in our lives. And some of those changes are what we're going to be focusing on today. So I have a few examples of things that we can talk about as far as strategies to make changes within our lives to improve this physical wellness without going on a diet, without going to the gym every day. There's small changes we can make. So physical activity should be fun. It should be something you enjoy. If you hate the treadmill, don't go on the treadmill. If you can't stand the gym, we'll find a different place for you to get some exercise. So some of the ideas that I sometimes share with families, I have a lot of pet lovers that I work with. Going out and walking the dog, that counts as physical activity. Make that a part of your daily routine. You can go, shoppers, walk the mall. Try not to window shop the whole time. Well, try not to stop too often. Try not to spend all your money. That's financial wellness. We'll get there. But walking the mall can be fun for some people. Simply building in more stairs throughout your day. If you have to, we work on the 3rd floor. I try to force myself to go up the stairs instead of the elevator in the morning. It helps wake me up. One of the ones I like to encourage some of my TV watchers is commercial break workouts. So during commercials, jog in place, do some jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups, see how many you can fit in, and work on your reps for the next commercial break. YouTube is an awesome free resource for workout videos. They have kids workout videos for the elderly, workout videos for teenagers. Type in a few search items and you can find anything on there. And if we had some snow, we're talking about winter wellness. I don't know what's happening outside, but it's a great time to enjoy being outdoors, even though it's generally freezing in December. You can enjoy some sledding, you can have a snowball fight, you can build a snowman. All those things count as physical activity. Anything we're doing that can get us off our couch and get us moving, those are things that are going to help us reap some of those benefits, help prevent some of that cardiovascular disease. It doesn't have to all happen on a treadmill. You can get creative with it. Same with our eating habits. You don't need a prescribed diet. You don't need to cut out all of your fats, all of your salts. It's really just simply about balance. So I encourage people to set simple strategies that you can maintain throughout a lifetime. So rather than cutting out all red meat, maybe just focus on having a fruit or a vegetable at every meal. Or eating breakfast every day can be a big one for a lot of our teenagers. For the holidays, you make some simple recipe substitutions. There's some good websites out there. If you search for healthy recipe subs, you'll get simple changes you can make. You could add some wheat flour to your cookies. You could cut back some of the butter. Small things so you can still enjoy those treats that you love that are part of your traditions, but maybe in a slightly healthier way, and no one even has to know about it. And then for sleeping soundly, that's really important, like we said, for memory, for learning. Really important when you're working with school-age children to help them function academically as well as physically. So for a lot of our kids, screens are a big, big temptation on the iPad and iPhone all day. So encouraging like 30 minutes before bedtime that's screen-free. Turn off the electronics. That blue light, all of that stimulation happening with the cell phones, the electronics, can interrupt sleep cycles. So we try to turn those off a little bit earlier. Setting a routine schedule, even on the weekends, trying to wake up and go to bed at the same time can help your body get into a better sleep patterns and rhythms. And then setting up a routine. This applies for adults and kids, trying to let your body know it's time for bed by following the same routine every evening for maybe that half hour to hour before you go to bed. Those are all small changes you can incorporate into your day to really have a positive impact on your physical wellness without going to any extreme. And like we said before, the real key is focusing on feeling well, not necessarily on the weight, because there's countless benefits that are going to come, whether that weight changes or not. So that's our brief foray into physical wellness.
All right, so now we're going to talk more about the emotional wellness, and this is our ability to focus with life, and also creating satisfying relationships. And you'll notice as we go on that a lot of these will incorporate in themselves. But when we're talking about dealing with life, it could be positive experiences and it could be negative experiences, and how somebody does cope with that is really big. What are the coping strategies that they're using? A lot of people will tend to, we're going to revert back into the physical wellness, when they're dealing with stress in their life, they may choose to either overeat or not eat at all. I'm a non-eater. I know me. And it's something I'm continuing to work on to get better at, and finding, okay, well, when I'm stressed, do I throw punches at an object? Do I get angry and feel like I need to just do something? Okay, and we find, okay, well, what are the ways that you can let out that stress in a healthy, positive way? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Also, satisfying relationships. Being able to have healthy relationships with people is huge, and this ties very closely in with the social wellness piece, but making sure that we're really emotionally accepting with any relationship that we have, whether it's with our coworkers. Sometimes we might, and I get along with everybody at work, but sometimes we might butt heads with the people that we're working with, and it's time to say, okay, well, am I going to let this affect me, and what are some things that I'm going to do about this? Am I going to bring this home and share this with the family? Am I going to start butting heads because I had a bad day at work? So there are things that we can talk about. And just a few strategies. One of the things that we'll work on with our families is starting a compliment chart. At the end of every day, have something on the refrigerator with every member of the family. At the end of the day, hey, let's write down a compliment for each other. Right? It can be anonymous. It could be something that you know that the other person is doing. It can be, maybe it's not every day, maybe it's every couple of days, or maybe there's no rule to it. But that's really nice when you've had a bad day at work and you're like, oh, I'm so stressed. You come home to a full house, everybody's running around crazy. There's toys all over the floor. You've probably stepped on at least 3 of them by now. And you go over to the refrigerator and you see, Mommy helps me with my homework. Does that not melt your heart? I mean, so it does help to ease some of that stress. We also talk about mindfulness, and mindfulness is a whole nother topic in of itself. Are you guys at all familiar with mindfulness? So mindfulness is a concept of being aware of everything, of all of your surroundings, whether it's inside your body or it's the physical awareness of what's in the room. Do you ever find yourselves driving down the road and all of a sudden you say, oh my gosh, how did I get this far? Because you were being absent-minded and not being mindful and in the moment. So mindfulness is the practice of being completely aware. And I know that that the FSO once in a while does do mindfulness trainings here, and I absolutely recommend it. Definitely something to look into. But there are websites. If you look up mindful, there's something we do with some of our kids. We're going back to the physical wellness now. We talk about mindful eating. Sometimes we have kids that they just go, it's like a shovel. They get the food and they just can't stop.
You're watching that movie and all of a sudden the whole bowl of popcorn is gone.
Exactly, yeah, and not that they're intentional, they're just not mindful of what they're eating. So we can there's practices called mindful eating with kids. And that's a fantastic, fun activity to do with any age group. And it's definitely fun. You realize how you actually pay attention to what you're eating. My advice to you is don't do it with fast food because you'll never eat fast food again. So don't mindfully eat with fast food. We also talk about sharing our struggles. Sharing our struggles may mean that you speak in an age-appropriate or developmentally appropriate way with your kids to share. You know what? I have bad days too, and these are some of the things that I do to deal with them. And so the kids don't always feel alone in that concept of saying, oh, you know what? I had such a bad day at school today. I tripped when I got off the bus. I landed in mud, and I had mud all over my pants all day. It could be something small as that, but it helps them feel more normal. We talk about also practicing those coping skills that we're learning. One thing that I love to do is little mind games, the handheld mind games. That's something I love to do. I also like crossword puzzles. These are things that I enjoy to do, and I find that when I'm very stressed, it is a great way for me to cope. But how did I get in the habit of doing that? It was doing it every day. So doing it for maybe 15 to 20 minutes, even a half an hour if possible. But to practice it when I'm not stressed makes it a second nature when I am. So that's a very, very important thing to really work on when we're talking about the emotional side of our health and our wellness. Another thing is when we are emotionally well, we have less stress hormones. Cortisol is one thing that comes on when we're stressed, and it can have an effect on our heart rate, on our blood pressure, on our cholesterol levels, on our metabolism, that beautiful thing that we like to keep moving. Okay, so those are just some positives to keeping ourselves emotionally well. I think so. It's me.
All right. So intellectual wellness is our next circle on the wheel. And intellectual wellness is defined as recognizing creative abilities and finding ways to expand knowledge and skills. So this is all about that lifelong learning and finding things that you enjoy, that challenge you, things that you want to know more about, just ways to expand your horizons and never stop learning. So a couple of simple ideas for this. One good thing to do when you're stuck inside on the weekend with a family is to create a trip to the library. Everyone picks a topic that they want to learn more about. Everyone gets a book, reads about it, learns, teaches themselves, and then share it over a family meal. Tie that back into our social wellness and our physical wellness. That's an easy way to get the kids involved and help them learn to appreciate the process of learning too, especially when it's something they can choose and get excited about. Another thing that is really wonderful that's out there that you should definitely take advantage of are the massive open online courses. They're called MOOCs. And so they're free online courses. Coursera is an example of one of them. There's several others out there. You can just search for mass open online courses. And I've done several of them. They're like usually 2 weeks to 10 weeks. There'll be some videos online. There's an instructor, usually a professor, who's running the course. And you can read through some assignments they'll put out there. You can take quizzes and really just sort of walk through a course. A lot of times these are college level courses that are free and open to everyone online. So there's a long list of topics. Scroll through, find something you're interested in. It doesn't have to be something related to your work or something you have to deal with every day, but find something that's exciting and new for you to just sort of challenge your brain and find some way to broaden that horizon and continue practicing those learning skills that are so important throughout our lives. That's true.
It is a short one. Yeah. Okay, social wellness. Okay, this is developing the sense of connection, belonging, and a well-developed support system. And this is huge, especially with adolescents and kids these days, having them in the house because I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with sitting in the house and all of a sudden all you see is the top of everybody's head because everyone's looking down at their iPads or computers or phones, whatever it is, but they're checked out. They're communicating. Believe it or not, they're communicating, but just not in the way that we're used to doing it. So being socially well is definitely important as far as going to school and succeeding in school. Feeling like a part of the classroom is a huge bonus for some kids. And this goes on even in our lives when we're at work. Feeling like you fit in at work is a very important thing to do. So we'll talk about some of the different strategies that we can use with the social wellness is talk about social media. Talk about it. Talk. And I talked with Lynn about it. It was October. We had a great conversation. But you want to make sure that you're communicating with your kids not only about the fact that social media exists, but share with them. Know what it is, what websites they're going to, and what they're doing when they're on those sites, who they're communicating with. Are they communicating with friends? Because being online does have some phenomenal benefits. It helps kids find new and exciting things that they want to learn about and tying into the intellectual wellness. Maybe they find an occupation from reading some random article and all of a sudden they decide they want to be a horse vet because of an article that they read, and it might set future goals for them. Also having supports. There's a lot of support groups on these social media sites, so if kids feel like they can connect with people online, that's very important. But it's also important that we know that they're doing it in a safe and appropriate manner. So just being frank with them and being open with them is probably the most important thing. And also knowing their password. That might be beneficial too. Eat dinner as a family. This is a huge component to social wellness, is when we're actually sitting down and eating as a family. And today I know it's so difficult to sit down with everybody at the table for any length of time. I know at my house we might be sitting down and one person's leaving and then the next person's leaving, so it can be very difficult. But if we can try to set it for at least one day a week, say for example, if you have a very busy lifestyle or family, say, you know what, this is the night that we're all home, we're all having dinner at the table together, and encouraging that conversation to happen. Another thing, and this is a good website actually, the familydinnerproject.org has all kinds of conversation starters and things that you can actually begin talking about during dinner. So we're not all sitting there, oh, well, how was your day at school? Well, my day was okay. How was your day at work? So it brings a little conversation, something a little different to the table. The next one is mute the commercials. And I know Amy talked about getting physically active during commercials, but sometimes you're just like, I just want to lie down here on the couch and relax. But maybe muting the commercials and having a conversation. Talk about the show that you're watching. Is it The Voice? That's often something a lot of people, let's mute it. Oh, okay, what did you think about this person? So begin that fun conversation. Ooh, I love this one. Have a technological timeout. I do this in my home where everybody turns off all their electronic devices and they all go into timeout. I have a basket. And that's where everything goes, and we do that for our family. We do it for 2 hours. You can choose whatever works for your family. Maybe it's only a half an hour. Maybe that's all you need. Maybe it's a full hour. Maybe it's 4 hours. But it's a time in the day where nobody's distracted, and often around the dinner hour is usually the best time to do that. But it does give everybody a chance to communicate. Talk creatively about school. That's a big one. Oh, what did you do in school? Oh, nothing. Did you learn anything new? Nah. Okay. So those are common responses that we might get when we ask about school. So maybe saying, depending on how old your child is, oh, did anybody do anything funny? Or that's a yes/no question. So maybe we would say, did so-and-so do this? Tell me something funny that the teacher did today. Tell me something about what you did at recess, or how did the game go at recess if you know that they were always playing kickball during recess? How did the kickball game go? Did your team win? And start kind of asking questions that maybe aren't necessarily academic, but something that the kids may actually say, oh, I do want to talk about that. Yeah, I'll talk to you about that. So those are some things that you can definitely get into. So those are definitely, and you can definitely look online. There's all kinds of conversation starters for after school. That's a good one. I think this was me, right? I think so.
I got some.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. See, we can't even keep track of who.
So financial wellness goes back to our mall walking. We want to keep some of that money in our pockets. So financial wellness is satisfaction with current and future financial situations. And it's really important when we're talking about wellness because it does tie to so many other areas of wellness. Financial wellness can cause a lot of stress for families. It can impact your environment. It can tie back to your occupational wellness. So it's really important not to overlook financial wellness. A couple of simple tips that we have. We've done some of this in the workplace. We're working as a group to try to become more financially well. It doesn't mean you need to go see a financial planner. You don't have to open up a savings account and count every penny, but there's small changes we can make perhaps to save a little bit of money to make ourselves more comfortable financially. One of the things we talk about often is saving money on energy costs, especially in the winter. Just simply maybe sealing your windows and doors for the winter could save you a little bit of money. Changing light bulbs to CFLs instead of, what are the old ones called? Incandescent. That'll save you some money. Turning down that thermostat when you're not at home. Maybe turning down the air conditioning this time of year when you're not at home this month. And the other big one is actually unplugging your chargers when you're not using them. Even if there's nothing plugged in to a computer charger or a phone charger, it still draws energy. So you could be losing a little bit of energy flow there. This time of year, creating a holiday budget is really important. I know we didn't catch everybody before Black Friday and Cyber Monday, so we might be too late. But financial planners recommend that we don't spend more than 1.5% of your annual income on holiday presents. So calculating that beforehand and then maybe figuring out what that gives you to spend on each person. I know I keep a spreadsheet of who I bought what for because I can get carried away. You want to be generous, you want to give, but you just have to try to keep yourself in track so you don't end up in trouble after the holidays. You want it to be a joyful time. So another one of my favorites is making your own coffee and tea. So a good cup of coffee at home costs on average like 45 cents. You go to a certain chain here or there, it might be $2 to $5 for that same cup of coffee. So you can put a bunch of cash back in your pocket that way and still get the caffeine you need to get going in the morning. So those are a few small changes you can make to impact your financial wellness and just sort of put yourself at ease a little bit more knowing that you're doing something to support that part of your life as well.
Okay, occupational wellness. This is a fun one. This is when we're looking at personal satisfaction and enrichment derived from one's work. When we're working with kids, obviously they're not satisfied with their work, but we give them the satisfaction of knowing that they're earning skills to enter the workforce one day. It's also really important. We always hear people say, it's not work if you love what you're doing. And that is important to enjoy, whether it's what you're doing, the people that are in the office. Sometimes that can have a huge impact. I might love the people that I'm working with, but hate the job. And that might not be enough to keep me going every day. So it's really important that we kind of take this and we look at it. And also, some people may want to continue building their career. Becoming certified in new certifications or studying something that they've become interested in over the course of their lifetime. So here's just a few tips on occupational wellness. One thing I have for the families, volunteer as a family. BergenVolunteers.org has a slew of volunteer programs that you can do as a family, which is fantastic. Very helpful. And especially for our kids to be able to say, you know what, that satisfaction of making a difference in somebody else's life, as small as it might be. Another idea would be to simply take a day off if you have the ability to. I know a lot of times we might be working multiple jobs, or we might not have that full-time position where we have that vacation time, but having that day off where you have nothing to do. I don't know about anybody else, but my weekends are jam-packed. I don't think I have to schedule when I'm going to sleep. So if we have, just a day off where you can just relax and let yourself rejuvenate. Don't tell anybody you're taking a day off except your coworkers, but don't let the family know you're taking the day off. Maybe get a pedicure, do something that's good for you, where you can relax. And the kids will notice that. They notice if you're stressed at home. They pick up on that. And that's the hardest thing, is to not bring that work home with us, even though we do by default anyways. Help young kids to explore, however old they are. I say young kids, but to me a young kid is anybody younger than me. So when we're talking about helping them explore, it might be they're interested in a field of work. Maybe they say, I want to be a doctor one day. Well, what can we do to help you explore that option? A lot of hospitals will work with teenagers and allow them to volunteer in the hospital, doing what's called candy striping, helping transport patients around the hospital. And just being in that setting helps them start thinking about that and giving them those skills, such as responsibility and getting there on time, things like that. But also allowing the younger ones imaginary play. A great place for that is the Liberty Science Center. They always have different types of programs that are consistently running, very beneficial. And there's all kinds of things, especially where we are. There's so many things out there to look up. But that's definitely a good one to look into. So, spiritual.
Yeah. All right, so spiritual wellness, this goes beyond religion, beyond your belief system. This is about sort of the values and our purpose and sense of meaning in life. It's the values that drive your actions every day. So expanding that, we have a few tips of some things that people do enjoy doing. As Ellen was saying, creating that me day, you could also use that as a way to expand that sense of well-being, spiritual wellness wise. You could maybe just set aside 20 minutes a day. A lot of people do enjoy yoga just for that mind-body relaxation. It's proven to engage both mind and body and help you have that sense of relaxation, or anything else really that's calming and relaxing for you. Setting aside time for that is really important. Having conversations with other people about those things that drive you, about that meaning and purpose that you have in your life. It can be with people who have that same sense or people who have a different sense. Challenge each other to learn more and get a better understanding of where you're coming from. And then also it's important for you to engage in the practices that do correspond with your belief system if you have one. For some people that might be prayer, for others that might be affirmations, meditations, whatever is important to your belief system, making sure you set aside time for that to help foster this sense of spiritual wellness in your life.
Okay. All right, and finally we're going to talk about environmental wellness, and this is probably one of the ones we do argue with our kids about the most, is clean up your room, clean up your room, clean up your room. But this is having good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that support well-being. That environment may be the very room that we sleep in, it may be the house that we live in, it may be the cubicle we work in, or it could be the outside that we all live and breathe in. So having a sense of what drives our environment has a lot to do with our emotional wellness. Having plants in the home, having that can also help with the physical wellness as well. So. All right. One of the things we talked about is recycling, and this can be very difficult because a lot of municipalities are changing the way that they recycle. They're going to a one bin system where all your recycling goes in one place. But if you're not doing recycling at your home or your workspace, definitely trying to engage the kids in that. A great resource is the Waste Management, so WM.com. They actually have, which is really great because I know for myself, I get really confused when I see the bottles with all the little symbols on it. I'm like, what the heck does all these mean? Does that mean I can or I can't recycle? I don't know what that means. Does that mean this is once recycled, then I can't recycle it again? But they do have an index that can tell you what those symbols mean, and so you know what is recyclable and what is not recyclable. So they do have those symbols, which is very helpful, and teaching the kids that is also helpful so that they know that going forward. We talk about spring cleaning. I know a lot of us in our homes will do that 1 year sweep of the house, but if we can do it on a smaller scale, more than once a year, maybe twice a year, or depending on how often, just bump it one more time from what you're normally doing. And it does really help having the whole family involved in that, having the kids pull everything off the floor in their bedroom. Whether it means that they're putting it all in a bag for now and then they take it out of the bag and then they have to put it away, or whatever it is that they're doing so we can get the floors cleaned up and that space clean. One thing that you can look into is also, are we going to be purging things? Is this something we don't need anymore? Can we just throw it out? Is it of no use if we were to donate it? And anything that we can donate. And that's a big thing that some of us do. One thing you can do for yourself is at the beginning of a season, if you put all your hangers on backwards in your closet, and then at the end of the season, any hangers that are hanging backwards, you didn't wear all season. So those can be donated and given away. And that's just one simple tip that you can do. It might be a little bit of a pain when you're trying to get them out of the closet to begin with, but that's definitely something that can be used. And also beginning a garden. I know I have probably the brownest thumb out there. I killed a cactus the other day. I had to say goodbye. But if we can try to garden in some way, whether it's in a pot, whether it's outside, if it's a small plant in your office space, something that gives that extra life in the house, and teaching your kids how to care for it, and saying, you know what, this needs to be watered recently. And right now, if anybody has any real Christmas trees in their house, it's probably being watered at least, hopefully, once or twice a day. Got to keep those nice and moist so that they don't catch up in flames. So we have to water them constantly. Or maybe it can be somebody's turn. Okay, it's your turn to water the tree, and so keeping everybody involved in that process, making it a team effort. And maybe, okay, well, today's mommy's turn, today's daddy's turn. So it gives that chance, that openness. Okay. So when we're talking about making all these small changes in our lives, we talk about making and setting goals. It's very easy to say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And it's very hard to define, okay, well, when do I meet that? Because I can go to the gym all day and I can eat well, but at the end I might not lose, like Amy said, I might not lose that 20 pounds. Maybe I lose 15. But in reality, maybe I lost 20 pounds, but gained 5 pounds of muscle because I'm being physically active. And that's where that scale kind of throws us off a little bit. So when we're making goals, it's important to use the concept of a SMART goal. This is something that we use with our families on a daily basis. I would say a couple times a day I'm reminding people of their SMART goals. And the idea of being SMART is to be specific. Make sure that it's an exact concept we're talking about. Who, what, when, where, why. When we're talking about measurable, making the goal measurable. Saying I'm going to lose 20 pounds, that's great, it's measurable, but is it accurate? So maybe instead, I'll say, you know what, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. And that might be big for you. So I can know for sure that if I go 3 times a week, that is measurable. That is a change that I've made in my lifestyle. Attainable. Making something that is realistic. Sometimes we hear people say, I've been told I have to lose 50 pounds in 3 months. And I'm like, wait, what? 50? Well, that's not a lot of time, and that's not going to happen. That's not attainable. That's not something that, we can do. And make it something that the person feels confident in achieving as well. And we're going to tie right into realistic, making these goals realistic. Making them something that you will in fact and you can do. Say I'm going to go to a gym 3 times a week, but you've got 3 screaming kids at home. How am I going to get to the gym 3 times a week with 3 screaming kids at home? That's not going to happen, okay? So maybe instead I might say, okay, well, I'm going to do commercial workouts 3 days a week. That's something that is realistic. That's something that I can do, and I have the resources to do that myself. And also time-based. Give yourself a deadline. And that's sometimes the hardest thing to do. When are you going to start, and when are you going to stop? Say, okay, well, starting tomorrow. We always say starting tomorrow, or starting on New Year's, our New Year's resolution. This is going to be my goal. And setting that up so that we know when we're going to start this goal. Is it realistic? Is it something that we can actually do? Is it attainable? Is it something that I can actually grab and reach? Is it measurable? Can I keep track of it? And we'll talk about keeping track in just a minute. Is it something I can really keep track of? And is it specific enough? Is it, because saying I just want to lose weight is not a specific goal. We want to talk about how we're eating and that sort of thing. So
tie it back to an action that you can do.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you. I was looking for the right
Actions,
word, though
yes.
it's not coming out. All right. So we're gonna move on. I think.
Yeah, so the last thing we want to talk about tied to these SMART goals, you can make goals all day, but to really keep yourself accountable, tracking is really key. So tracking is important because it increases our compliance. When you write something down and you see that I haven't achieved my goal for going to the gym 3 times a week in the last 8 weeks, you start to think about why that's not happening. It can help you identify barriers in that way too. So why hasn't that happened? It helps you reflect upon that. It helps with self-knowledge and self-reflection. So when you had a great week, why did it go well? When you had a bad week, what happened there? Help you to recognize some of your own strengths and weaknesses. And really the key is that you can celebrate your progress. When you have 5 months of tracking tools and you look back to day 1 and then look at the end and see how far you've come, it's been a gradual change you may not have noticed, but looking at that difference can really be a big celebration of your progress. So a couple of the tools that we use with our families I wanted to show you today, and we have some for you guys to take with you as well. So one of the ones I use a lot, if we're talking about just balanced eating, making sure you're getting a food from every food group. If you want to make sure your kids are getting a fruit and vegetable every day, just something as simple as having each food group here and the days of the week, and keep a tally just to see if by the end of the week you can increase the tallies in the fruit column. Set a simple, measurable goal that way, something very visual. It's really helpful for kids. The next one we have is one of my favorites. This is the goal game. So this is great for younger kids. It's a game board, piece of paper. You can put it on the fridge. You set your SMART goal. Every day you achieve that goal, you can move a magnet one piece further on the game. When you get to the end, there may be a small prize to help incentivize younger kids. You can make it a little harder by any day you miss your goal, go back to the beginning and see how many days it takes you, how many tries it takes you to get to the end. Another one that we have is a simple calendar-based tracking system. This is something you can do on your calendar at home. It's just simply having a space on your calendar where you remind yourself of what your goal is, and then you create a system for yourself. You can have check marks, smiley faces, hearts, I've seen it all, just to help visually see what days I did achieve this goal. Maybe you'll see a pattern that one day of the week things are going a lot better, and you can work on that and make it a little bit easier for yourself on the other days by seeing what's going well and maybe what days are challenges. The next one we have, this is a fun physical activity log. What's great about tracking physical activity, sometimes maybe you're walking 3 days a week right now, but you're walking for 5 minutes a day, and by the end of the month you're still only walking 3 days a week, but you're walking 30 minutes a day now. So this sort of ties in a lot of the aspects of how you can succeed in improving your physical activity. It looks not only at frequency and duration, but also effort level. There's this fun scale for kids about how tired they are when they're exercising, and you want to be like 5 or 6, you want to be in the yellow zone, where you're exerting enough energy that you can have a conversation, but it's a little bit tougher than if you were strolling through the park. So using some visual cues like that can be helpful for younger people to help them see how they can increase their intensity over time, because intensity is a tough concept to really spell out. So this is a fun way to do that as well. And we have copies of all of these if you guys want any of them to take home. And you can play around with them. Really tracking, you don't have to use a specific tool. It's whatever works best for you. Try out different things, see what fits best in your toolbox. But just having a place to keep track of your progress over time, some people simply use a journal, is really key to keeping you on track towards achieving those SMART goals.